Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. In this video I wanted to do something a little bit different, not necessarily review an album or talk about music, but I wanted to share an old video of me unboxing a package of records that was sent to me from a record store that I had a long history with, Amoeba Records in Los Angeles. For those that don't know, I'm originally born and raised in a suburb of Los Angeles, and my experience shopping at record stores out in California were just amazing growing up. I have so many stories, and there were so many great record stores in the area, and then also Amoeba Records, which the box is from. I also had a lot of memories of going, to San Francisco as well. Just real quick, a little bit backstory about this video. It's my friend Brian shooting it. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. He just wanted to test his new video on his Samsung phone. He just wanted to test the video recording on it. So he filmed me opening the box because I just got back in from town. He came over to listen to some music with me and see what records I got. So he decided to film it. I wasn't going to present it. I just was kind of sharing it. In fact, during the video, I've actually had a few drinks and I'm a little bit kind of out of it. And even though it's in the daytime, I was probably still on vacation, if you get what I mean. And he came over and filmed it. So it's not me necessarily presenting it like anybody else was ever going to see this film. But I thought it's interesting just because of the music in there, and you just kind of see me opening some cool records back in 2013. But just a little bit of backstory on a few things I want to tell you about Amoeba, my experience with Amoeba Records over the years. Back in the mid 90s, probably about 1994 was the last year of the Los Angeles Raiders football team being in California, and so I had a lot of friends that were football fans. I was a jock in school, junior high and high school, and but my love for music was always the main thing. But I was huge into sports as well, and playing sports. I was pretty athletic, and a lot of my friends were athletic, and they like to go to football games, and so I would go along to football games with them and do tailgate parties and enjoy the nightlife maybe the night before, and we go out to some kind of event or something like that and just have a good time. It was kind of a friend's trip. So the last year of 1994 was the last Raider game at the Coliseum, and it was against Kansas City. The winner went to the playoffs. Kansas City won. They went to the playoffs. It was actually the last regular season game of Joe Montana, so I was there at that game. It was like I don't know, maybe December of 1994. And so the next year they moved to Oakland. And so my friends wanted to go to Oakland. And so whenever I go to a new city, the first thing that pops in my head, I want to go to record stores, right? So, every year from 1995 to about 2003 before I had moved away and I moved to Washington, D.C. in 2004, every year we would take a trip to go see the Oakland Raider game, and then the night before we would go out to some restaurants or maybe a bar or something like that, or a club or something like that, or a dance club, and see something, and then next morning we would go to the football game. And so one of the things I would try to sneak out and do during that time was go to a record store, and the record store that I would always go to, Height. In fact, I'll show you a picture of me on Haight Street back in 2001 that my friend took. I'll put it right here, but that's he took a picture of me. And the funny thing about the picture was, if you guys know the Global Underground series, and they would take like cool pictures of the DJ, like on a street scene or something like that. That was kind of like my Global Underground sort of picture of DJ culture sort of on the street. So that was kind of, if I ever did like a mix series, like a CD mix series, and we got famous, that was sort of my picture. That was kind of my joke. So, it's funny, even though if you don't get to be something, you can sort of pretend you are something, and that was kind of cool. So it was kind of like a running joke though with us and my friends, being DJs. My friend George, was also a DJ at the time during the late 90s and 2000s. and we would have house parties and stuff like that. And that was usually the friend that I went to San Francisco with because he was a huge Raider fan. And so, I would try to get out to Haight Street because there was like three or four record stores in a row. I remember it was Compost Records. There was an old secondhand store, and then there was another store which I can't quite remember, and then the last store on Haight Street. This is on Ashbury and Haight. Was Amoeba Records, and I had such amazing shopping experiences at that record store in the late '90s. When I would go to Amoeba Records, it was one of the only stores where I could get a lot of imports for CDs. In the mid '90s, of course, probably as back as the late '80s, like Tower Records was like the best place in Los Angeles. Of course, the famous one on Sunset Boulevard, but Tower Records was the best place to get like imports. Like if you wanted to get something from overseas, and it was so exciting going to the imports at Tower Records because you really never knew what you were going to find, and sometimes you would find some really cool stuff, but it was very expensive. And I can remember one time that it was a Skinny Puppy VHS. It was It Ain't Dead Yet, the 1991 concert on VHS. And I remember not being able to buy that because it was $109 for a VHS. And I was just like, oh, I can't spend $109 on VHS. And so I passed it up and then never saw it again until it finally came out on DVD in like 2000. And I have a copy now. But back then I had the cassette, but I couldn't afford that VHS. I was just like, no, I'm not spending $109. But I would go to Amoeba Records in San Francisco, that particular one, every year for like 8 or 9 years. And I would spend probably, in those days, maybe $300 to $500 each visit and come out with stacks and stacks of CDs, a lot of great fax records and imports. And that was like the only place. Like I have this little section over here behind me. There's about 2 or 3 sections. Actually, maybe kind of goes over here a little bit too, and back of me. Those are all fax records. I'm not a huge fax records collector, but compared to the people that have a lot of fax records, I don't know how many fax records actually came out. If I was to guess, maybe somewhere around 200 or 300. I probably have around like 70 or 80. So I wouldn't say I'm like, if I said I was a collector of fax, and then the kind of collectors that collect fax records from the '90s, Pete Namlick's ambient label. Like they would kind of laugh at me, like, "Oh, you got like a fourth of the label." Well, look, I got everyone because it seems like everybody that I grew up with in the '90s and 2000s, and all my friends on Discogs, some of the artists that recorded on there, Mick Chillage, and there's a couple other people I'm blanking on too, but they had like tons of their CDs. So when I say I'm a collector, I mean it. When I have a collection of fax records, I mean it with not being too serious about it because my collection pales in comparison to other people. But I have a good 60 or 70 CDs off that. But probably every one of those was purchased at Amoeba Records in the '90s because that was like the only place that I could find fax records. But I also got a lot of other stuff. But you'd be surprised to know this, but in the middle to late '90s at Amoeba Records, which, if you guys don't know, Amoeba Records is one of the most famous record stores in America. There's 3 record stores in California. There's one at Berkeley. There's one at San Francisco, and then there's one on Sunset, which in Hollywood. In that one opened up in like 2000, I think 1999 or 2000, somewhere around there. And so, they didn't have a lot of vinyl in those days. It was mostly CDs, which was like most of the stores. But the thing about Amoeba Records, it was kind of like a warehouse. Like if you've never been to Amoeba, imagine a grocery size warehouse. Some of them are multiple floors. The one in Los Angeles was multiple floors in some parts of it, but I'm talking about. I don't know. I can't even guess how many square feet. I'm talking like 8,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet, 12,000 square feet, something ridiculous. Multiple rooms, a huge space. I'm talking like a grocery store big. And there was so much. And probably in the '90s, 80-90% of it was new. I mean, used records, used CDs, and just used music in general. But they didn't have a lot of records in the late 90s because obviously they were kind of going away, and people were still kind of collecting. But as the 2000s started, then people started selling their records because they weren't really using them anymore. They thought it was junk, and people like in the DJ community, which I've said before, we kind of were obviously still into records, vinyl through the whole, the ups and downs of vinyl. I've been consistent with vinyl and buying it for the last 40 years. And so, like when you go there, you couldn't shop for a lot of records. They didn't have a lot of records. It was mostly CDs. And I was really interested in finding like imports and really like ambient and techno and stuff like that. So I was more into the CDs, but there was not a lot of vinyl in those days. Fast forward a couple of years, and then they finally opened up Amoeba Records in Sunset, and I would go to this record store religiously, like every week or two. And I just remember some amazing times up there. I shopped one time, and uh, what's his name, who played Frodo from from Lord of the Rings. He was next to me record shopping, and that was kind of cool. And I met a lot of people there shopping there, and it was funny. Like in the early days of Amoeba Records at that particular Sunset, there was the used section was bigger than the new section because they weren't bringing out a lot of vinyl. And I'm talking mostly in the dance music. They weren't importing a lot of dance music. It was probably about 60, maybe 70% used, 30% used. And over the years, every time that I would go there, it would become more new and new. And then it got to the point where there was like maybe 10% new, and it wasn't as fun to shop. And that was kind of maybe the last time I've been there, which was like 2018. But I moved to Washington, D.C., but I missed going to that record store so much. Long story short, every time I would go back to Los Angeles, which to see my friends or go to a Dodger game or a Laker game or a Kings game or, visit friends, every time I would go back there, um, I would make some visits to some of my favorite record stores in Los Angeles, and this particular video is a box of me shopping at Amoeba and then having them package it up and send it back to me. There was a couple times like early on where I would buy a lot of records and I would stuff them in my bags and stuff like that and ship them out, but it kind of got to the point where I was buying so much that I actually had them box it up and ship it. In fact, one time they shipped it really poorly, and a lot of the edges of the records got damaged. And I sent them pictures, and they were really kind and really apologetic, and sent me like a $200 gift card for inconvenience of packaging my records horribly. They put like 50 in one box, and it was very poorly packaged, and that was kind of a bummer because there was a lot of good records in there. But there were times in where I'd be walking to the counter at Amoeba with a cold sweat, like I was buying so much music. And there was times where sometimes where I didn't have a lot of money. This is back in like the first days of going to Sunset, back in like 1999, 2000, 2001. Like I didn't have a lot of money in those days. Those particular 3 years, I remember a lot. Like being able to spend like $200 or $300 at the most, which is a lot now. But there was times where I had like 50, $60, right? And I would go in there and I would see like 2 or 3 records, 4 records, and I just couldn't decide, and I'd break out in like cold sweat and just be so bummed that I couldn't buy anything. And that kind of, I remember that so fondly because I kind of told myself I would never be able to not buy anything that I wanted going to a record store because it was so stressful when I would go in there and shop around and I couldn't afford it. So ever since then, I was able to buy what I wanted, and I spent a lot of money at Amoeba Records. There was times when I would fly in, and I would go to Amoeba Records right after I would go In-N-Out on Sepulveda. I would go to In-N-Out Burger, and then because I missed it, or Tommy's or something like that, or Del Taco, just because I missed California fast food. or even a taco truck or something like that. Just amazing food in California. But I would go straight to Amoeba Records, park my car in the parking lot, and just go in there. And there were times when I spent $1,100, $1,500, $1,600, and come back the very next day, go to the bar next door, get a sandwich, and then revisit all the section that I didn't get to the day before, and spend another $500, $600. There were times where I spent a couple $1,000s in a weekend at that particular record store. I thought you guys might get a kick out of this video and see somebody unboxing some records. And again, this box is from 2000. This video is from 2013. It was a box that was shipped to me after I went to Amoeba Records and picked out these records, and I didn't want to put them back in my luggage and go back on the flight, with the weight limits and stuff like that. And I wouldn't doubt if this was one of a couple of boxes that I got sent to me, because I know on this particular trip and quite a few others, I had multiple boxes sent to me. There was a lot of music that I was purchasing during those days at Amoeba Records on my yearly visit back to Amoeba Records.
Go.
That's painting on Venice Beach. It's pretty cool. It's from this guy named Danny Hughes. Nice guy. So, a little ministry action here. Ministry. Plan of Zymore. It's a little industrial. Frontline assembly. A little industrial. So this is a cool new group I got. Lebanon, Hanover. Definitely looking forward to checking them out. Heard some good stuff about them. This is the first one. I got 2 during my trip. Had to get this, even though I have it on CD. I definitely love it. It's a great album. It's the Black Marble. One of the best bands I've probably found last year. They're out of New York. Really cool. So now I have all 3 of their stuff. Releases, anyways. Alright, so I also got the EP. So I got all 3 of them now. This is the 3rd one.
Black Marble again.
Yeah, so full album. This one is one that has balancing. Really like that one. Found that one on YouTube about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Actually, almost 2 years. Sun God. Had to get this hieroglyphic beam. It's gonna be cool. He's putting out a lot of stuff, so I actually got help from the guy at the Amoeba Records on this label. So. Putting out so much stuff. He had like 30 records in that record store, so I was like, can you give me one that's good? I started listening in like 04, but haven't really stayed up on it. Just putting out so much stuff. It's hard to afford. Lee Gamble should be a really good find here. 94 to 96 stuff. One of my best periods of techno, so that should be really cool. Unknown artist to me, Lee Gamble, but I know he's connected to some good guys. Carlos Nims, Little House. It's on the Deep House tip. I heard about this guy. I actually haven't heard his stuff yet. A lot of this trip, a lot of the music I was buying, been hearing about stuff for like the last year and a half of new artists, so I wanted to get some of their new stuff. Since I don't get this kind of stuff in LA, or the places in DC at all. Miles. Should be really good techno here. This is his new one. It's full record. There's a couple releases out. Really cool. Check out that label.
Very nice.
Cool. Pretty cool. Very simplistic. Alright, so this is the 2nd repress. I'm really excited about this one that I actually have. This one might actually get played first. This is ERP. I think you pronounce it Alzoran. I'm not sure. Alzoran. It's the 2nd repress. I've wanted this one for like the last five years since I really found ERP stuff.
Yeah, ERP, a new find. Excellent.
You know, it's funny, when I found ERP and I was like looking on Discogs, I was like, oh snap, it's the dude from Convection. Oh, sure.
Convection, also an excellent find.
Yeah, so. Wow, I got a lot of stuff in here.
Autofocus is terrible. Node 3 autofocus, disappointed.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play this one shortly. Actually, I'll leave it out. Alright. Bought this one but just by checking out Discogs. I always try to take a couple chances. If I'm going to buy like 30, 40 records, I don't want to just take a chance on like 4 or 5. You know, just give it a shot. ESHU005. Looks like it's copy number 139. That's That's about a normal, you know,
Mm-hmm.
about 300 of a normal
Mm-hmm.
small unknown record label. Black Sights, Prototype, another one I took a chance on. Really cool, like that. Nice.
Alright, we have to see.
Marcus Marr, another chance took on this one. Just like the name.
Alright.
Just like the name of the label and the songs.
Right. Which has worked before.
Huh?
Where it's worked before. When you like the name of the label and track.
It's called Pleasure Moon.
There you go.
I think that's pretty cool. Like if I was on the moon.
Justified.
Marco Furstenberg. I'm kind of new to him, although I've heard his name around for like 4 years or so.
Yeah, Germany.
Had to get the repress, you know.
Those who know, know.
You know.
It's one of the best ever.
Classic. Really excited about this. Just to have it, a little warped a little bit. Probably had about 20 or 30 copies in the record store. I was pretty excited.
It's one of the best ever.
Recommended it to that guy I met in Spain out there record shopping. So he picked up one too. Ultravox. Finished my
Tim
Ultravox
selection.
one. Yeah. It's the only record, the only album that I didn't have, so I had to get that. Looks like a pretty good copy. Got it for, I think it was, yeah, $3 or $4.
Good shot.
And I got a second copy just because I love the album so much. So, love this record. Lament. Fucking great song. Love that song. Might play that again later.
Slow down.
Alright, STL, Cosmic Flute. Trying to get some STL stuff. I heard some really good things about him. I heard about him and heard one of his remixes on Echo Space label. So STL. Got some really cool artwork on his stuff. Look at that. Secret Weapons. This is a full length.
Right.
It's a double. That should be really good. Got some cool stuff. Moon Patrol, Wild Thing, Global Village Madness. That's hard.
Sounds interesting.
Cool label stuff. You know, very industrial German looking, but should be some minimal techno.
Could be rough.
Kind of dubby stuff. So I actually decided to pick this up just for sake of it. This is Swayzak. This is the first Swayzak album in 7 years, bro. I'm pretty excited about it.
We know about that one. Swayzak.
So,
Possibly the greatest track of all time.
I've been following Swayzak for like 15 years and excited about this. Should be cool, you know. It's been a while since I heard new Swayzak, probably about 8 years or so. Had to get this, just to archive old repress of old Juan Atkins track.
Juan Atkins.
I Love You in Techno City. Had to get this as a repress. It's about 20, 25 years old there. Might
Nice.
be closer almost to 30 now. No, 25. Yeah. Couple CDs, Front 242. That pretty much completes my collection. Of
Yeah, you're a big fan.
Good of that. Donato Dazzi, got his new one. Give me a good listen there. Plant 42, really like his stuff on AI Records for the last few years. Good stuff, very good stuff. I might actually play that after ERP because it's kind of like ERP stuff.
Okay.
Lebanon Hanover is the other one I got from them. Industrial stuff.
We'll see.
Got an old OMD record. That completes my OMD collection.
So fourth one completed.
This is an interesting one. This is Arthur Russell World Echo. This is actually a CD repress, and the reason why I bought it is because I've had the record for about 10 years. I've only played it like once, twice, just because it's really good. I was waiting for a CD copy because the record is one of my most expensive vinyls, worth about $100. So,
Good pick.
It's expensive, but you know, I just love old ambient stuff. So this is like 1986, 83 ambient stuff there. Well, it got repressed, I think, in 86, 87.
Alright.
Reload CD. Should be really good. I got it on vinyl too, of course. It's a great record. So I just picked it up because it's only $6. I mean, I got the vinyl goes for $40, $50 though.
Nice one.
Actually, probably one of my more expensive records too. Probably goes for like 70 or 80. You know. Couple CDs. Another Donato Dazzi, so I got all his stuff. I needed his 2 new ones. Really liked the last one. He did.
Right on.
John Mouse. Very interesting character, very cool stuff. I have all
Father
this
of
stuff.
Dead Mouse.
Really happy about completing a lot of the purchases of labels and
You're on like
artists
5 or
that I
6.
have lately. Because now I have all 3 John Mouse records, so I'm happy about that. And this actually completes all the Aphex Twin stuff that I want.
Aphex Twin, one of my favorites.
So 26 mixes for cash. I have probably about 5 of these songs on different you know, releases, 9 Inch Nails, all kinds of stuff. So I've wanted to get the CD. But I thought I couldn't help it for like.
Right on. What else?
Skinny Puppy. Got their
Yeah.
Really love Tormentor on here. That's one of my favorite Skinny Puppy songs.
Crazy music.
Also got Skinny Puppy Bites. I have all the Skinny Puppy stuff on cassettes. I'm still trying to get around to getting on CD.
Right on.
I will always buy Skinny Puppy stuff if I see it.
Yep.
So now I have all manual stuff too. Manual is a really eclectic
Cool.
IDM guy from, I believe, Denmark. I have all 4 of his CDs that I want.
They are good.
Kind of the more deeper stuff, ambient stuff.
Some of my favorite.
Yeah, if I showed you a manual tomorrow. The
Yep.
yellow one. It's a great one. Lost Sill.
That was cool.
Third CD I've gotten from them. Really like him. Found him in the last year or two. Really kind of late on that. And then lastly, I got a new Conforce record.
Aha.
So this is Silent Harbor. He actually records under Silent Harbor as well. A little bit deeper stuff.
Cool.
Probably a little bit more ambient. You know,
That
voices,
sounds like it could be very cool.
voices from the deep type stuff like that. Really cool.
Nice.
Stuff. Very cool on the.
Very good. Quite a package.
Yeah, so that's it, man. That completes the second purchase set.
An excellent trip to California.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good music.
Electric Cafe.